E-telligence. Energizing your email marketing with Kate Barrett.
Hi, and welcome to the E-telligence Creative Review, where every month we will be looking at an email that's popped into our inbox and telling you what we like and what could be tested to maximize engagement. So I'm your host, I'm Kate Barrett, the founder of eFocus Marketing, specialist email marketing agency, helping businesses to use email more intelligently.
And I'm Elliot Ross. I'm the CEO of Taxi for Email, which is a product that helps email marketing teams make better email.
So let's jump into this week's review. So here's today's email. So this is one that we've seen in our inbox. So this was actually November from a company called Nest. So Nest do kind of home intelligence systems, don't they? Kind of heating and things like that to control your home.
I have some of these. So we have a video camera, like a house camera.
Oh, okay. So you can spy on what's going on when you're not there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we use it for the kids actually. Like put it on the kids when they're sleeping and stuff like that.
Oh, excellent.
And they also do doorbells and things. So
fab. So yes, they do lots of things. And the reason that we've pulled this email up as an example to show you guys today is because we think there is some really fantastic data-driven content here. You know, one of the things that we're always talking about is personalize your campaigns, use the data that you've got to help people to understand how they're using your products, how they could use them better. And Nest are doing a fantastic job of doing this.
yeah, so they do really well, right? And they're lucky because they do have a wealth of data to run with, which is really cool. So you can see in this email there's a lot of stuff, right? Like, so there's aggregate data based on sort of what you've done this month versus last month. There's a lot of kind of, you know, this has gone up, this has gone down. Interesting, not to jump ahead, but there's things like the battery on your device is run down, so that's something that you should be aware of. So yeah, so it's good that they've pulled out a lot of that stuff, both from, like, the temptation with this kind of data is just to present it back to you, so you can kind of say, well, here's the data we've got, your device, the battery is a bit low, and this is good and this is bad. But they've also tried to build in some intelligence based on it, which is where you actually add the value.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. So right at the top of the email, we've got that alert, time to replace the battery. That's fantastic. So we'll kind of ignore the first section of the email in a minute. We've got some comments on that. We'll come back to it. But jumping down to the safety summary as of 30th of November, you can see that they're listing the Nest products that you have, so hallway and kitchen. They're giving you a call to action to go through to the current status. So if you were, you know, reading this a couple of weeks later, for example, if you went back to the email, you can then get to your current status, which I think is fab. And then going into it, what I love about this is it's the real-time breakdown of what's happening with your devices. So in the hallway, your battery's low. That's a key action that you've got to go and change that. Gives you those summaries of the battery status, the connectivity, the sensor status. I think that's really, really useful. And then going into the alerts, if there's been any alarms triggered, any tests that have been run. In this one, we've got obviously zeros on there, so that's nice and reassuring that nothing has happened. But if it had, you'd have that summary there. And then into the energy summary, which, as you said, it's not just reiterating that data back to you, but actually in the next section, it explains it. It explains what your change in energy use has been, and it explains why that probably is because of the cool weather. It's just such an intelligent way to use that data in a useful, helpful, customer-centric way within the content.
And then you can actually change your behavior, right? So you can say, well, obviously, you know, it's coming into winter, so it's probably going to be we're using more energy on heating in November than October. That's fairly obvious. But if it came to April and it turns out you were using a lot more, then you'd be able to take action on that and say, actually, have we left the heating on or whatever? So you can actually take some actions based on it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And like you said, they've got so much data. I think this is a really clever way to reiterate it back to someone and give them those action points going forward. And then we've got even more data coming into this email that we've got the loyalty section at the bottom. So you earn leafs when you do different things. So in this case, you've earned a leaf when you've chosen an energy efficient temperature. So they're encouraging you to change your behavior with their loyalty program to help the environment, to help save you money as well, which again, for a company, you know, even though they're not saying here, you know, it's going to save you money or anything like that, it's showing you that if you do use your energy in a more efficient way, what that means for you, and they're rewarding you for it.
That's cool.
Okay, and we've got obviously the social element of it as well. So let your friends know how many leafs you've earned. Absolutely love how you've got that, you know, connection with your other channels. And obviously social media is so important as a business to get those positive messages across. So I think they're doing that really well within this. So I think we've got a good roundup there of what we like in the email. I think it's, you know, there's a lot of data that's nice and clearly laid out. However, I think that as with all of these sessions that Elliot and I are going to be running, there's going to be things that we're going to suggest that they could perhaps do better. So Elliot, I don't know about you, but the first thing for me is that we've got all of this valuable information, but it's pushed down the content. So we're not actually getting to that safety summary until a quarter of the way down the email. We've got a lot of bulk that isn't personalized, that is more generic, that perhaps there's a business reason for putting it in, but I'd really like to see that either moved to the end of the email or perhaps removed from this email altogether, as it's your home report. So we're talking here about the top image of the ice skaters, and about this month it's all about the solstice. It just seems a bit generic to me when you've got all this value below that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Because like, I get from a brand perspective, they want to build up loyalty, they want to make you choose Nest over competitors, all that kind of stuff. So presenting back your data is obviously very valuable to help drive that, but also they've got some content in there, kind of traditional content marketing. So, you know, here's some ice skating, it's kind of November, coming into that sort of season. Talking a bit about the solstice, that's kind of cool. And then talking a bit about, in aggregate, everyone who uses Nest has saved this much energy, so that's kind of cool. But I agree, I think in terms of the hierarchy of what you want to get out of this email, that's kind of secondary to the stuff that's specific to your kind of use of the product. So I mean, it's cool to have in there, but yeah, perhaps it's worth sort of switching around the order of that a bit. I quite like the thing we're just talking about at the bottom with the sort of leaves, like the sort of gamification of that. Like, that could be quite interesting to pull that in higher up, because it gives you a bit of an aggregate on, you know, there's sort of details about, here's some stuff about your device, and here's some specific percentages and sort of units that you've used over time, and that's cool to sort of have in detail. But maybe that leaf is quite a nice kind of score to wrap everything up in. So you can say, oh hey, you know, this has gone up a bit from last month, and that's cool because of XYZ. So if you're going to look at this email for 2 seconds, you can see that fairly arbitrary number, but something has gone up or down, and then you can go, okay, cool, so let's dig into the details, and that's because, you know, we used our device more or whatever. And
some kind of medal for it, you know. So this one is saying they're in the top 25% of nesters.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, so they could have like a sort of badge or something like that.
Everyone loves it, like eBay do the badges and things like that, don't they? And maybe something like, I saw Costa do it on one of their emails, where you had a coffee cup that was an animated GIF in terms of filling up with you know, kind of how many points you'd earn. Maybe we could have some kind of animation around that. What I'd really like to see as well is, you know, I think this is great to include in this email, because I think it rounds off that content really nicely. You know, here's what you've used, you know, fantastic, well done. I'd like to see that as a separate email as well. So I don't know if they do this, but having, you know, a separate email with your, you know, reward summary or something like that, maybe. And like you say, the gamification of it and pushing you to earn more, and you know, we know psychologically that people love that kind of thing, earning badges and you know, scoring more and being in the top 25%. So maybe there's something that could be done there, depending on the rest of their strategy, to pull that out separately.
Yeah, and it brings a lot more kind of interest into something that is, in theory, kind of fairly dry content, right? It's sort of you know, information about your thermostat and the sort of security of your house and stuff, which is important, but it's not particularly entertaining. So adding on those kind of gamification things could help help make it more interesting.
Yeah, and I think while we're talking about the hierarchy, so moving the generic stuff that's at the top of the email at the moment to the bottom, or maybe even removing it from the email altogether is a possibility. But also, I think making a little bit more with the typography. So the headlines are in almost like kind of like lighter grey than the main font as well, making it a bit bigger, maybe a different colour or something to make the sections break up a little bit more. There's a lot of content, and I know we're looking at this on a screen in terms of a screenshot and not in our email scrolling down, but some kind of differentiation between the sections, maybe some arrows or line breaks or colours, using the typography, the size and the colour a little bit more. What do you think about that?
Yeah, even just using sort of different background colours for different sections or something. Like it's quite a long email and there's quite a lot of content, and that's fine, but just making it so that as you do scroll down, it's very obvious that you're on this bit now and now you're on this bit, and it's a different background colour, different imagery, different typography or whatever, helps you very easily see that you're now in a different section of the email, so that as you scroll through you can see, okay, cool, now we're talking about this stuff, and that helps just kind of make it so that people aren't overwhelmed by a kind of wall of content, I suppose.
Yeah, make it easy to differentiate between those different pieces of information, because they're so valuable. And I think, the point of this email is to reiterate data. It's not to lead you to a call to action, get you to do anything. So obviously we haven't got any big buttons or anything like that, and that's absolutely fine. There are a couple of links if you want to visit the app, or if you want to learn more about your energy use, which perhaps could be called out a little bit bigger, a little bit more there. But I'm reasonably happy with that. I think what I'd like to see tested is maybe a navigation menu at the top, or perhaps moving the logo to the left hand side and putting a call to action at that top right. That's a key place for a call to action to go through and visit your account. So if they want to go in and change something, if they want to go and look at these stats in more detail, having that option available, I think, is what's missing for me. So the My Account button, or like I said, a top nav menu that takes you to key sections on the website, perhaps to explore more. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's absolutely, we kind of talk about AI in email and that kind of stuff, but that kind of doing stuff based on the data is really interesting. So you could have like more sort of AI type content in there. Here's a suggestion based on what data that we've got now. We suggest that this happens, or people who were like this now do this, that kind of stuff. So that could either get pulled into the email, or you're right, it could get pulled through into the app as kind of, here's your kind of suggestion on how to improve your kind of energy consumption and how your home runs.
Yeah, and I think, again, as we talk about moving more into interactive email and things like that, a basic level, maybe we can even have a little bit more animation in this. Maybe the energy levels could be a bar that's animated that moves to how much you've used, or since October the timer here, or what the counting mechanism here perhaps could be moving a little bit,
could be
or
almost live.
Yeah, absolutely. Or maybe you could even have, if you were using actual interactive email, where we've got the battery status, the connectivity, maybe you could have those that you kind of tab through them to find more information. Or I think there's so many possibilities for what we can do now in terms of giving that action in the email. And we've got to think about mobile, right? So here we've got a screenshot obviously of how it appears on desktop. I'm not sure how it appears on a mobile. We should probably look at that on some of our other emails we review, and we certainly will do. But how does it view on the email? Is there something else that we could do on a mobile that we're not doing on a desktop to make it a little bit more interactive? It's that gamification again of actually using your email and viewing the content.
Yeah, exactly. And at the very least, people have probably got the app on their mobile, right? So we could send people straight into the app rather than to the website and all that kind of stuff. So there's some sort of basics of, people on a device. So let's get them into the app, even for Twitter and stuff like that as well. So there's definitely just sort of switching links around and stuff above anything more complex to make it work on to have a really great experience on mobile.
Yeah, great point. I think we forget about that multi-channel, omni-channel, connecting it with how other people are using it. So thinking about, like you said, the app, or where they need to be with connecting that all together with all of the other options for the business. Fantastic. So I think that's everything kind of wrapped up for this episode. We will be doing these once a month and reviewing. So if you want to submit an email for us to review, then please absolutely do that. And we'll see you for the next episode. So that was this month's review. Hopefully you found it helpful and got lots of tips on how you can improve your email marketing. If you loved it, please do press the button and subscribe to our channel to get lots more email marketing tips. And you can connect with us on all the socials. You'll find the links in the notes below.